Welcome to Your Creative Midlife. I'm Betsy Bush. If you think of getting creative in your midlife, you might think of writing or painting or photography. Not many of us would think of even trying stand-up comedy, not in front of a real live audience anyway. What is it like to be a successful female comedian in later life? Let's find out from Jane Condon. Jane lives in Greenwich, Connecticut, but she assures us she's still a nice person. The Associated Press has dubbed her an Upper Crust Rosanne, and the New York Times says Condon had the audience cackling, guffawing, and in hysterics as she sliced through marriage, husband, kids, politics, and other topics. Welcome, Jane. I am so happy to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Why comedy? What was it about comedy that drew you to it?
Well, I think besides the alcoholism and mental illness in my family, I'm a talker, and I started when I was 37, and I would sneak out on a Wednesday night to go to an open mic, and unfortunately or not, I was pretty good, and the best comedian in Connecticut said to me, he said, "You're pretty good, kid." He said, "Get out of this business while you still can, because it's very addictive." So, I just kept going, did 2 years out in the boonies, not seen, went into New York, where I learned you don't use props. I had a black velvet headband saying I look stupid in a black velvet head. That's why I didn't fit in. Anyway, and then I was just off to the races. It's so much fun. It's the best job in the world.
Were you always one of those funny kids, like cracking jokes in the back of the class? Or
I was funny, but I was not voted funniest, much to my regret. I think I was about 9th funniest. I went to a small Catholic co-ed high school in Brockton, Mass. Jimmy Penzino, Jimmy Hurley, my cousin, Joe Sly, who else? Vinny, Mary Del Sordo. Mary Del Sordo became an elementary school principal. And who's on Betsy Bush's show now, Mary? So I just kept at it.
That's great.
That's half of the game. I always say to the younger comedians, the race belongs to those who stay in the race.
That is so true, and it's true of so many things, right? I could also say podcasting, right? You need to just keep going.
Yeah.
You need to just keep going, and same with writing, but there must be something about it. Is there a moment of terror before you go on? It's like, am I going to bomb, or am I going to make it, or how do you connect with the audience?
There is always a moment of terror. Beverly Sills, the opera soprano, said, if you're not nervous, you don't care anymore. So we still get nervous, but that feeds us too. And then when the audience laughs, it's just an upward spiral. If I make them laugh, they give me laughter, and we go up, up, up like that.
What is it about your material, or give me a sense of the material? Because I can imagine you have kids who are they grown now? Or,
my kids are older,
right?
And they're both in entertainment. One works for Major League Soccer, and one is a screenwriter. And I just did a little show for the boys' school in Greenwich. Greenwich Country Day was 100th anniversary, and my son and I emceed the show, and that was so much fun. Well, then the lady who was running the show, who's incredible, Debbie Carrick, the theater is named after her, said, "Okay, Jane, we're going to be moving the piano at this point, just fill." And I'm like, because I was kind of locked and loaded, ready to go with what I had in mind. And my son said, "Mom, that's easy. Do same-sex marriage." So I'm there. Oh, okay. So I'm there. I have been married a long time, so I want to say this right up front, very pro same-sex marriage. My husband and I have had the same sex for 47 years. It's a classic,
Yeah. So give us a taste of some of the other material that you do.
Well, I say how my husband and I are total opposites. He's rational. I'm impulsive. He's very, very neat. I'm very, very not. He likes to travel, and I like when he travels. And he drives a stick. I drive an automatic. I buy my car at a dealership. He buys his car from Fred Flintstone. I'm ADD. He's OCD. And, but I live in a clean house. What I like to open with now is I've decided to embrace my age. I had a girlfriend, Carol Montgomery, who in the middle of her set, we were all doing really well. It was the Palace Theater in Danbury. She just let drop that she was 65. And I thought, how brave. You know, actors and actresses, they don't usually say their age. And I thought, what if I embrace it? What if I put my arms around it? So when I go on stage now, I'll say it's great to be here. I'm just happy to be out of the house, you know, because for me tonight it was here, or assisted living. But the joke that I really like is I say, hi, I'm Jane Condon, and I'm 74, and I don't care anymore. They all start applauding. You know, it's not that old to me, but anyway. And then I'll say, used to be 73 with ADD, before that's 72, but what are you going to do? And I'm ready for next year. I'll just say I'm 75 and still alive, you know. So that, and when I'm like 94, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, again, you just do it. You don't give up. One of my first breakthrough, I won Ladies of Laughter, a nationwide contest, but a few years after that, I was on Last Comic Standing, and I slept overnight in my car to get the audition, and it took 4 tries to get through. The first year, it was at Madison Square Garden. You have 3 minutes. I'm there at 8 a.m., and after 2 minutes of my stuff, they said next. I didn't even get to 3 minutes. The next year is at the Comic Strip, 81st and 2nd, and I had on my snowsuit because it was 22 degrees. 2 Tonight Show producers, 1 liked me, 1 didn't. Okay, so moving on, I did, Caroline's, and they're like, okay, I'm going to get there like really early, make sure I get seen. So I was there at 5 a.m., you know, which driving in from Connecticut, a bit of a hike. And people were kind of cutting in line, and at 5 o'clock they said, that's it, the auditions are over. And they're like, okay, next year when this happens again, I'm definitely getting seen. And so I went the night before. Someone said for the Wednesday open call, they're already lining up on Tuesday. A girlfriend of mine, it's important to have friends in the business, and I threw my sleeping bag in the back. I wrote my husband a note. He was out of town. I was unsupervised. And I got there at 7. I was 56th in line. This is the night before. Oh. So I slept in my car, and don't feel sorry for me. It was a Lexus, but I didn't want to get my hair down. So no hat, and it was 22 degrees. It was just off. So I got out of the car at 7 a.m., back in line, and they said, come back tonight. And I went home, took a nap, ironed my blue shirt, back out there, and that night, for one night, I was voted audience favorite in New York. And to be the #1 comedian in New York, even just for one night.
That's awesome.
It was, but it takes that kind of, you know, I slept in my car. That just had to be done. Boom, boom, boom. And you just want to be seen and heard. And I still remember there were 3 judges, Kathleen Madigan, who I love and adore. She passed me through. Ant passed me through. The middle guy, Alonzo Bowden, he's a great comic. And he said, I don't know, you don't seem like a club comic to me. And I said, no, I'm a country club comic. You know? And yeah, that night was just magical. I think every once in a while, if you keep at something, God or whoever else is up there will say, it's your turn. And it was my turn that night. And it was just magical.
What do you think people don't get about trying to make it as a comedian or stand-up or whatever it is you're doing? I mean, I'm hearing sleeping in my car and trying year after year to just get on the stage.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, what does it take?
Yeah.
Well, you have to learn who your audience is. My first question whenever I do a lot of benefits and fundraisers and country clubs and less the clubs, because who wants to see their mother on stage? But my sons have said to me, no, we do, Mom. We all have a mom. So I'm going to have my first special taped January 11th at Gotham Comedy Club.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, we haven't signed the contract, but I think it's all going to go well. And you have to learn who to try out your jokes on. What was great was I could go to the kids' games, and I'd be there, you know, my back to the kids, and someone would say, Jane, your son just got a goal. Oh, turn around. Oh, honey, that was great. You know, And anywhere you can find an audience. I have one girlfriend in Greenwich who's extremely logical. I am extremely not logical. And she can point out, you go like that and have comedy buddies. And honestly, this is a career that is about the journey. And it's just, it's so much fun. But you just got to keep at it. I write every day. Well, what I do every day was, I used to do creative like 2/3 of the time. And I rehearse whatever my upcoming show is. I did a show on Tuesday. I did an hour, and I'll do another hour on this upcoming Sunday. I'm getting to have somewhat of a reputation at assisted living centers. I don't want to dazzle you, but anyway. But I'm their age, and there aren't that many older comedians. There aren't that many mom comics, so I'm very busy.
Well,
over Mother's Day.
It sounds like you're developing a real niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you always try to find the universals, but, I can speak well to older people because I am one of them. I mean, I like to think I'm still a 14-year-old, but with a few medical issues. But
are you, you also have shared cultural touchstones and things like that. Like you can throw out, I don't know, an advertising logo from ages ago, and everyone will get it, right?
Well, I wish I should do that.
Yeah.
What I do is I talk a lot about my kids. I say I have 2 boys, otherwise everything's fine. And anyone with kids identifies with that it's not perfect. I learned years ago that flaws can be my friend. If I show that I have problems, everybody's got some problems, And my job, I MC a New Year's Eve show every year in Charleston, South Carolina. It's called Renaissance Weekend. And Barbara Mikulski was there, and I never really knew why I did it. I just wanted to be on stage, probably because I needed attention, and I'm the youngest. But Barbara Mikulski said to my husband after the show, she said, "Are you married to that woman?" And he said yes, and she said, "May the force be with you." I thought that was very cute. And Bill Clinton, who was president then, came up and said, "You're really funny, Janie." And then this woman came up, Carol Schwartz, social worker in Brookline, Mass. And I knew her son, her 42-year-old son, just been diagnosed with lung cancer. I lost my dad when I was 15, almost 16. My mother got lung cancer later. And she said, "You know what, Jane?" She said, "You're very funny, and you make us forget for half an hour." And I just went, "Thank you. That's why I do it." I didn't know. We had, various problems growing up. I was raised in love, but chaos. And my job was always, but look over here, Yeah.
Yeah, providing that distraction, that respite.
Yeah. I always say, if you go on an elevator ride with me, you're going to come off the elevator ride with a smile on your face because I'm going to say something. I am a talker, too. I just like my Irish grandmother. Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood. You were the youngest of how many?
4.
4.
Youngest of 4, a brother, 2 sisters. The first sister is actually funnier than I am, and her daughter is funnier than I am, but then I'm the one who got up on stage and said, "Let's go."
Do you still steal their material? Or?
No, not yet. No, I would if. I always ask people if I hear something. I honestly don't even know where my material comes from. The best thing I can do is live my life. And we lived in Japan for 5 years, so I have a bit about giving birth in Japan and how, they don't make any noise. They don't even call it Lamaze. They just do it, no drugs. I said, I did it. What a crock, And I'm screaming at they're there, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. But I never know where it's coming from. Things will incubate sometimes over the years. And I'm just going back to doing something about Christmas pageants. You should always keep a treasure chest of everything you do creatively because later in life you may know how to say it. And now I know how. Now I have my persona. Your persona is it's probably you plus 10%. Remembering nobody pays to see normal. I can do that. But I would say my persona is an uptight Connecticut mom. Oh, shock and awe. And, you know,
But underneath, there's that little subversive something going on,
very
right?
subversive.
Yes.
Yes. And a friend of mine, a Boston comic, Sue Costello, said to me, Jane, this is your little protest. You know, this is you saying, this is how it is. Maybe it could be different. But when you're ADD, and honestly, I didn't know I was ADD. Everyone always said I was scatterbrained or, you know, I would forget things. And then when one of my sons was being diagnosed and they said all the things, and they're like, oh, that sounds familiar. I wonder where he got that. But they gave me the most material. I did my husband material last because I'd almost passed at the comic strip in New York. And Lucian, who was the owner, then said, he said, Jane, we think you're ready to become a regular. That means you can send in your availabilities. But we're not going to pass you until you start talking about your husband and your act. And I'm there, but Lucian, I want to stay married. So I do kind of anodyne stuff about him now. I say about how he snores. You know, I said, I have been awake since 1978. And it's so bad I've categorized them. Basically, there are three. The first one is the cave, the and the second one is the stall dance. I usually am standing up doing this, of course. And now, honey, don't die. Who'll do the taxes? And the last one is the after sex snore. It doesn't happen that often. You know? So this could be any husband. You know,
It could be any husband.
and he's actually great, but he's not one of the people I try out my jokes on.
Yeah.
He came home from Germany one time, and I was very excited. I was in it about 2 years, and they're like, okay, I got some new stuff, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, because he was jet lagged. So I'm like, okay, you may not be the perfect audience. My sons, I don't know if other people should do this, but like they pretty much just walk in the house, and I'm like, how about this? Because they're a very good audience. And sometimes they'll walk in now and just say, Mom, I just need to eat a little dinner, and then we'll do your jokes. And I know it's different for them to have a mom who's a comedian. So when we had a birthday party once, I got all of them to do the Groucho Marx glasses and nose, and I just took a picture of all of them. And like, you know, if your mom's a comedian, it's just going to be a little bit different. But they've given me a lot of lines over the years, and you know, some of them I think of myself, but mostly you write your own material. You shouldn't copy from anybody.
But I think family is probably fair game, right?
I earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, you've answered a little bit about what your family thinks. I mean, what about kind of, you know, your circle of friends or other people in the community? Is that like, oh, don't talk around her because you'll end up on stage or something?
They say that they don't have to be afraid of that. I remember being so scared when, by the way, I'm originally from Brockton, so I have a Boston accent sometimes. When I'm emotional, it comes up. And I remember when we were doing the interview at the local country club, and my brother-in-law had gotten me aside before the interview, and he said, look, Janie, this means a lot to your husband and the boys, so keep your mouth shut. So now, okay, I can do this.
This is the membership interview, is
yes,
that right?
Yes,
boy.
yes.
Okay.
You know, they have a cocktail party. It's very, but this is it. This is the interview. And I'm there like, oh gosh, I don't want to screw this up. And this lady just was like right in my face. She said, so Jane, where did you summer as a child? And I had to answer her. She was right in my face. I'm there, how? So I told her, I said, well, we summered where we wintered. We summered on the screen porch. We wintered in the den. Because I do come from this blue-collar town in Massachusetts called Brockton. And it's a tough town. And people get shot in Brockton. And it really is just our way of saying hello. But Greenwich is different. You know. And it took me a while to fit in. But then they became the greatest supporters of my career.
Oh, that's great. Maybe you're doing something that a lot of people secretly wish they could do.
Oh, yes,
right?
and I'm always happy to encourage anybody. You can call me, you can write me. you just have to stick with it. That's really, and make a group of friends. Be social. I'm not naturally social. You know, some comedians are introverts. And someone said to me, Jane, okay, you're not an introvert, but maybe you're like a situational extrovert. And I think when I get on stage, bam, I own it. And I'm 10% more than the nice, sweet Jane you are talking to. And
does that surprise people sometimes?
yes,
that,
yes.
you know, they
yes.
get to talk to you in person. You're not that
and then
person
bam,
out there.
up
Yeah.
on. I take charge because you know, nobody pays to see normal. And a friend of mine, after I did one of these New Year's Eve show, he wrote on my legal pad. He said, "Jane, if you can't be confident, act confident." You know, so they want to feel safe in your hands, and I just get to say my little opinions, and for once, people are listening to me. You know, and it's just delightful, and it is like a little guerrilla. You know, this is how I feel about this. So
That's nice. Now, we all know that not every time you're up at the mic, I mean, this is every comedian. There are times when would you say that you've bombed?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, big.
Yeah.
No, if you don't bomb,
Yeah.
you're not doing it right.
Right.
You really have to. And I'll go out and do littler shows in New York, so that when I'm being paid, it all works. I want them to get their money's worth. But you have to try out your new material, and the new material is always coming. Okay, and my favorite bombing story is, I hope you got time for this.
Sure.
Again, this Renaissance weekend, I MC the New Year's Eve show. People write song parodies. I do the jokes in between, pull it all together. And this was in the 2000 aughts, and there was a song about cable TV. And I said, do you know what show I really like on cable TV? I love 24. I just love 24 with Kiefer Sutherland and Mary Jane Ricecub, and I just think they're amazing. And I also think that Mary Jane should have ended up with Kiefer Sutherland and not with the guy that she married. But, you know, what are you going to do? I have to tell you, there are 800 or 1,000 people in this audience. It was crickets.
Oh.
It was crickets. In my mind, I could see a truck driving through the silence, and I'm like, oh my God. So what you do when you're bombing is you either acknowledge or you just move on, or you acknowledge and move on. And I looked out at the audience, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so dead. And I said, I said, look, I forget. You people don't watch that much television. You're the kind of people who read the Wall Street Journal or Scientific American. And then they laugh at that, and then it's off to the races again. And afterwards, this guy came up, and he said, well, I like 24. And I said, sir, I think it's you, me, your wife, and my sons. And he says, well, I'm the executive producer.
Oh, my God.
He was the showrunner. He was the number one person on the show. And he said, and I think you should be on my show. And uncharacteristically, I said, I think I should be too. I think I'd make a great CTU, counterterrorism unit analyst. I knew all the logo. My dad had been an FBI agent. And he called months, or his PR person or assistant called months later and said, I still remember it was Hurricane Sandy. I'm at the Greenwich Library trying to get juice for my phone. And then Hollywood calls, you never know. And she said, would you come all the way west? Would you fly 3,000 miles to do one line? Howard really wants you in the show. And I'm there like, when do you want me? So I had just one line. I made it into two. How do you want it coded? Yes, ma'am. That was it. But I got to be a principal, and when you're a principal, you got a chair, and you sort of get. I just love the catering situation. All the buff boys who were there, who were playing part of the police. They're, Jane, this is where the gum is, and they're, no. I'm putting the bagels in that little bean tote bag, and I'm eating the spaghetti, and I am just having a ball, and it was just so much fun, and it was really one of the highlights of my career.
That's
I
great.
also throw good funerals. I've done 3 funerals. If you ever know anybody wants a little advice, like I MC them. My father-in-law said to do this. I'm their grandpa. He knew he had a quadruple bypass. He knew this was at Christmas. He said, Jane, I'd really like you to MC my funeral. I'm there, Grandpa, I've never done that. I'm not sure I'm the right person. He said, no, I know you can do it. He had a file folder this big with, call this person to sing Handel's Messiah, make sure there are 2 open bars, get all these different things. And then we worked it out that one of the sons would speak at the beginning, one would speak at the end, then like a co-worker, a friend, and then, back to, and then repeat, rinse and repeat. You give everybody 1 to 3 minutes because they'll do 3 to 5 when you say 1 to 3. And just say a nice memory of Grandpa. And it was a great show. And then I did it for my brother-in-law, the one who said, keep your mouth shut. And then we added onto it. You blow up pictures of the person you love. And a Jamaican nurse had said a wonderful tip. She said, remember the good times. So we blew up, he had Parkinson's. It was a long downhill. We blew up, we had his favorite song going when he came in and when people were exiting. And then for my sister, unfortunately, we lost her during the pandemic. We did the blow. We gave them a lunch. And I'd said to everybody, I said, do you want a priest or a minister or anything? And they all said, no, just give them a lunch. Okay. So with my sister, not only did we have the intro and outro music, we had all the pictures, all the happy memories. And I said to anyone who was coming, if you can think of a story or, a toast. I don't say roast. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. We want this to be happy. And all the hospice people came, and it was still during the pandemic, so some people were there en masse, but they came. And the one other thing we did for that was Susie sure had a lot of pocketbooks. So I had a table with her pocketbooks and scarves. And I thought, oh, this could be creepy or it could be wonderful. And I just said, if anybody would like a memento of Susie, please take one on the way out.
Oh.
And bam, they were gone. So you can be creative within it, but we all know that memorial services are for the people left behind.
Sure.
It's to help them heal.
Sure. Also done some interesting things, like you gave the commencement address at your alma mater, Wellesley College.
Yep.
What was that like? That's a pretty big thing.
It was a big honor. I was doing my one-person show. It got renewed, and then I got offered to do that. And then they're like, oh, when is this ever going to happen again? And Wellesley likes to have graduates. They're modeling, role model behavior for modeling behavior for younger people. And they'd asked the seniors, who do you want to have? And they said, we'd like a writer and a comedian. Well, there aren't that many people who fit both. They should have had Wendy Liebman. She's great. I hope she's in the line to do it. She's tremendously funny. And I remember when I just thought, oh, I have to do this. And so I handed in my script. They wanted to preview the script.
Sure.
And I said to my husband, I'm so insulted. I'm a cleanish comic. Why? Why would they do this? He said, Jane, they just want to make sure you don't say any swear words. And, this is the audience. So I get there, and there was so many people. It was bigger than I even thought it was. My two best girlfriends came, Leanne and Ann, and my family came, and I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't know it was that big a deal. And I did some little ad libs. I tried to stay to the script, which is hard because you're sort of trained to, if something comes in your head and you trust it, you say it. But my favorite ad lib, perhaps of all time, was I just pushed the script aside. And I said, as I look out at this, so maybe 3,000 people, and as I look out at this sea of eager, educated faces, there were 550 graduates, I'm thinking, I have a son in the audience, and he is available if anybody's interested. And I was really terrible. I'm there, honey. He was at NYU grad acting then. I'm there, honey, could you stand up? And God bless him, all that tuition. He stood up and he waved, and he's there, call me. It was so sweet. Yeah, but 8 moms called me.
Right.
But it was a very, very sweet moment, So that was, and I did 2 other ones after that. One I said no to. One was the University of New Haven, and I felt sorry for the kids because the undergraduates, the graduates were getting Governor Malloy, who was a very, people liked him.
Okay.
People liked him. And then the undergraduates are getting me. And then I made some little joke about how the president at the time was Steve Kaplan. I'm there, Steve, way to choose a day. Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Oh, well, honestly, I will say what better thing for any mothers to have your kid graduating from college? So you can be a little sincere there. Well, then the next one, word gets out when you're pretty good at this, I guess. And I said no originally because I didn't know how they got my name. It was down in Pennsylvania. And then when they said, it was the same thing as University of New Haven, that this school is a lot of first-time college graduates in their family.
Sure.
I said, okay, when and where?
Yeah.
And, I made some jokes, and there was, it's hard to stop they put us inside. It was supposed to be outside, but okay. But there was one young woman in the audience, and I did something about her. I knew she'd been in a car accident, and she did theater. And her mother afterwards, probably the biggest pay I got out of it was, she said, "You have no idea what my daughter has been through recently," and it made all the difference. Oh. So thank you. It just, when you can lighten someone's load a little bit, and you don't know what's going on in their family.
Sure.
Oh, the other tip for people, no matter what profession you go into, is go to the love. There'll be people in the audience like this, okay, make me laugh, BITCH. And you got to know, somebody's grandma may have just died. You can't control that. So I carve those people out. And then the people who are laughing at me, I give them more. They give me more. I give them more. Upward spiral. And that's, I can't please all of the people, but I can do a lot of them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to someone who's listening, saying, I have always, my friends think I'm funny. I've always wanted, it's always something I've fantasized about a little bit. What would you say to someone in midlife who might be wanting to give this a try? What are some easy early steps they could take?
First of all, you can just call me, JaneCondon@gmail.com, or go on my website. It's there. And the first thing I do for most people is, the open mic scene it's kind of awful. Sticky floors. I came up through it, and it toughens you up, makes you faster, better, stronger. But particularly young women or middle-aged women, I'm like, why don't you go to Manhattan Comedy School? And my friends are all teachers there, and they do their lessons at at Gotham Comedy Club, and then they have a show, and I just think it's good when you're so fragile and you're so scared. It's good to be in a supportive environment. And Karen Bergreen, is a good friend of mine, is an amazing teacher. And I've also worked for something called Kids in Comedy. They do teenagers, and Karen is the primary teacher there, and I'll substitute for her once in a while. And she is amazing. She helps people get to their voice. It all starts with, who are you? And if you can, again, I got mine down to uptight Connecticut mom, so maybe 2 adjectives and a noun. If you can get to that, and that dictates what you speak from. But there are a lot of other people doing this out there. You will not be alone. And every profession, we do get a lot of lawyers during recessions because they're very verbally facile.
Sure.
And all I can say is they're the most fun in the world, and you can, after you do the comedy classes, and do a couple of them, then you try to find the open mics that are like a booked open mic. And in the beginning, you have to bring friends, and then you run out of friends. And then, but now I'm at a level where they bring me in to be the closer. They got to give them something, for coming. And it's, I know, make little groups of friends. Oh, this is the best advice.
Okay.
Is find a coffee shop, a pizza parlor. This is for comedy. I don't know what. I wouldn't recommend this in finance. But friends of mine started an open mic and booked mic at a laundromat. And they got a lot. It was called Spin Comedy. Pretty cute name. Anyway, you just make your own group. And if you give other people time on your show, you should MC it, because if you're a good MC, you can go on radio, you can go on TV, you can host fundraisers. Like I'm good at hosting a fundraiser because I can move a show. And if all goes south,
Right.
I got a joke to bring it back up, And anyway, but start your own thing. I did a coffee shop in Greenwich for many years. They wanted me to do it every week. And they're like, how about we settle on once a quarter?
Yeah.
And at that time, we didn't have the internet, so I'd have to make 10 phone calls, 10 of them doing 10 minutes each. And then I got so I can't do all these phone calls. So I'd have 2 other people would each do 30 minutes, 90-minute show. When I was starting out, people could sit for a 2-hour show. Nobody has the attention span anymore. So do a 90-minute show, and then just volunteer to do it like at your PTA or your country club. If it's like at your country club, maybe do 10 of your best minutes and then bring in, call me and tell me what your country club is like. I'll tell you the best comedian in your price range. So I recommend, I've done United Way of Greenwich so many times. Now I just recommend people. I give them like 3 people's names who are clean enough, and then they have fun. They usually it's women on the selection committee, and they have a couple of drinks, and then everyone's laughing, and they said, we want this one. And then because it's me, I can get them a good price, so any place can become a venue. Just find that venue and make friends and be social and help put up other people. Go on your social media and like their stuff. Leave a comment, because we're all in it together. And yet, unlike actors and actresses, I feel like we're not competitive as much because we all have our own lane. Right. Who else is the Greenwich mom?
Right.
Me. And a friend of mine, who I love dearly, Bonnie Levison, she started doing it, and that's fine because she would even have a different take. Everyone has a different take. Mine is blue collar, origins, the white collar town. Anyway, she started doing it, and then we went to a couple of the Moth story slams in New York.
Oh, sure.
If you're more of a story person, that's the place to go.
Wow.
And she has risen in the ranks there. She's doing very well. They send her to Sweden, to corporations, to prisons, to high schools. And I'm so proud of her. She can get a story out of a rock. And I think we all want to tell our own stories, whether it's memoir writing. You just have to sort of find the format that's right for you. A comedy is very condensed. Right. You can take a story and, smush it, and then you can do that. But stories are just nice. It's its own. I think it's easier. It's your own rhythm.
Right. And at, the midlife plus years, you have something to say.
That, honestly, I always felt that was kind of my superpower, besides being ADD, because when you're ADD, you can hyper-focus, and so when I tune in on something. But yes, I didn't start till I was 37, and my family was a bit baffled, my mom particularly, because we're all like lawyers and teachers. Just that I'd been a journalist for Fortune and Life and written a book about Japanese women was surprising to them. They're like, why? And I said, I don't know, but let me just play it out, And thank God my husband didn't say no, and I let him do what he wants. He lets me do what I want. And it just kept growing. And you know what? Even if your local library you can do, there are lots of places. And if you bring comedy to them, if I bring it to Greenwich or like anywhere in Fairfield County or Westchester County, particularly for younger people in their child-rearing years, if they came into New York, they have to get a babysitter, they have to take the train or the car, they'd have to find parking, they got to be home when the babysitter. It's a schmagegi. Do it locally, and people will be so grateful. Oh, my YWCA was very encouraging to me. Like right off the bat, they gave me 3 shows. Now, who's going to always help them?
Sure.
You remember who helped you on the way up, and
right.
they're just, it's anyway.
Oh, that's so wonderful, Jane. Before we close out, I want you to let people know how they can find you. I think you have an Instagram account.
I'd love
and
if
stuff
people
like that.
followed me on Instagram. I have a lot of reels. You can see my comedy. I'm at jcondon4. That's JCONDON 4. Facebook, I've maxed out. I do occasionally on TikTok, but you only have a limited number of times. So I'll do some promo, but then I'll give them a gift of a video from a recent show. And I really got to move on to YouTube. And I think I'll be putting my comedy special up there.
Great.
So you can find me all those places, and, I'd be grateful. And I like to talk to people and encourage people, particularly women who are trying to find a path, because we need more of you.
Jane, thanks for joining me on Your Creative Midlife.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Your Creative Midlife. I'd love to know if you're doing something creative in your midlife. Please reach out to me at yourcreativemidlife.com. And if you liked us, please give us a thumbs up and leave a review. Thanks again. I'm Betsy Bush.